joining us on the phone line. Thanks very much, sir, for joining us. Let me first begin by asking you to throw some insight about Mr. Karunanidhi. Your lasting recollection of what Karunanidhi really stood for and what he meant for the people of Tamil Nadu.
Well, that's a great question. I mean, he stood fundamentally for all the entire ethos of the Dravidian movement, and in that sense reflected a great sense of Tamil pride and Tamil culture as well, because let's not forget that his origins are in the film industry as a script writer. And however, he very quickly rose from capturing the language of Tamil nationalism and Tamil ethnic sentiments. Through his brilliant oratory, he rose into politics. And very quickly, leaders such as Patriarch and Annadurai, who were helming the DMK, recognized his potential as a brilliant organizer as well. And he inevitably rose to the top of that party. And as they say, the rest is history. Since about 1969, when he ascended to the highest rungs of the party, he steered it so ably through multiple crises, the breakaway of the MGR group, the departure of Vaiko, multiple electoral losses, not to mention against his former rival J. Jayalalitha. He recovered from all that. He kept the party at the forefront, and all throughout he never lost that feeling of being the champion of the Tamil people. And even though the very movement itself changed shape and took on new meaning, it shifted from a far more radical form of the 50s and 60s into a much more accommodating form of the 80s, 90s and beyond. He never lost the core element of that movement. And I think for that, the people of Tamil Nadu, whichever party they support, will come together in a moment of profound grief to mourn the passing of what I would definitely say a person who is the titan of this movement.
Can I just ask you to hold on for a moment, because another important newsmaker joining us, Najma Heptullah, senior leader, senior politician and the present governor joining us live. Najma ji, thank you for joining us. Najma ji, how would you look at what has happened today? Your thoughts on the passing away of Karunanidhi ji?
Well, the one who is born go back from where it came. But people like Karunanidhi always live, their memory will always live. He was one of the most iconic leader of the sentiments of the people of South, especially of Tamil Nadu and the South. And we all will remember him with his policies, with his legacy. I had a chance to meet him many times, and I found him a very straightforward, very thoughtful person. And whatever discussion I ever had with him, I was very impressed by his vision. My sympathies are with his family, especially Kanimoji, who is a very, very good friend of mine. I wish I was with her at this time. I may not be physically with her, but mentally I am with her in the
Najma ji, I must ask you, the much touted and the much talked about 2G scam, which really became the identity for the DMK right from 2008 till 2014, and now that the courts have simply said that there was no such scam. Do you believe somewhere along the line, your party, which went out of its way to target Karunanidhi, and his party, the DMK, do you believe somewhere along the line, did it sour the relationship between the BJP and the DMK?
I am now, I'm no more in politics, and I will not speak on political issues. Secondly,
okay, Najma ji, I'll have to hold you there. I understand Kamala Hassan, well-known star and politician, now is speaking now on Karunanidhi ji.
Pronunciation. The language we used was Mr. Karunanidhi's. The voice we imitated was Mr. Shivaji Ganesan, and our vocabulary came from Kannadasan. So these were three Tamil teachers who taught many actors and Tamilians Tamil. And the third teacher, and probably the topmost teacher, is no more with us. And apart from that, this is the field that I belong to, and I've just walked into politics. And this is a long, illustrious career. He's permeated Tamil Nadu politics for nearly 70 years and more. And he came in when he was 19. And many generations know him for various reasons. I'm one who's seen him before he was a leader. I was a boy. I didn't understand what the movement was all about. And then we became part of that movement. And these are men of the hour. And it is not an accident. It was a call by the Tamilians to make them leaders. And he has done the bit for Tamilians. We salute him.
आप कह रहे हैं वो आपके एक तरह से गुरु रहे हैं फिल्म्स में, प्रोनाउंसिएशन में. पॉलिटिक्स में भी आप उन्हीं की तर्ज पर चलेंगे?
No, politics you can learn. Nobody is infallible. So his mistakes are also my lessons. His achievements are also my lessons.
कौन सी ऐसी मिस्टेक्स हैं जो आप नहीं रिपीट करना चाहेंगे?
The beginning of the DMK party itself, the ascension, the way they faced the odds when there was a strong hegemony like Congress, which had a background of the independent struggle, Gandhiji, everything was going for them. In spite of it, a regional party rose with very little to back them except the tool they had in their hand, cinema. And they used it to the fullest, and probably they were the first in the world to use it so prominently. America and Germany tried it, but this was most effectively done by this party, a regional party, but they managed to do it.
आपने जब से पार्टी बनाई है, एक तो मैं पूरे नॉर्थ इंडिया के लिए आपसे आपकी पार्टी के नाम की प्रोनाउंसिएशन जानना चाहूँगा.
Makkal Nidhi Mayam. You don't have to stress the Nidhi as Nidhi. Makkal Nidhi Mayam is a People's Center for Justice.
जैसे जस्टिस पार्टी थी ब्रिटिश राज में, एक जस्टिस पार्टी से शुरू हुआ था सफर ब्रिटिश.
Yes, as a matter of fact, the root of DMK and
So the tributes of course will continue, and we will get you more and more reactions. This is without doubt, and we've seen this in Tamil Nadu. There is a certain political connect, there is a certain emotional bond which people of the state seem to have with their politicians. Perhaps you don't have that kind of a connect when you look at other states, maybe western parts of India or eastern parts of India, or certainly in the Hindi heartland. But we've seen this in Tamil Nadu. It's a completely different story. Mr. Lakshman is still there. Lakshman, I just wanted to talk us through a bit about that, because the scenes that we are seeing right now, pretty much the scenes when Jayalalitha passed away, this emotional bond that people of Tamil Nadu seem to have, the great reverence. Usually in India, what we have is a scenario where people are always very upset with politicians, certainly with chief ministers. It's a typical thing to say, politicians have not done anything. What is it that sets Tamil Nadu apart from the rest of India when it comes to this connect that people seem to have between one leader and the masses?
That's an excellent question, and PhDs have been written about this. But basically, it has to do, again, with what happened in the 1950s and 60s. Where these leaders very astutely used film and cinema as a medium of communicating their political message. And therein, they communicated not just purely about politics, but about something very fundamental and ethnic Tamil in a sense, which made an enormous difference to the politics of the state and of the country as well at that point.
Can I just ask you to hold on for a moment, Lakshman, because we got Tiruchi Siva, Rajya Sabha MP of the DMK, who's joining us live on the phone line. Mr. Siva, thanks for joining us. I can understand it must be a very tough moment for you, but can you just tell us exactly how this loss is being perceived by cadre, by supporters of the DMK itself? Are you there? Are you there in the hospital right now?
We don't have words to express. We have lost our greatest leader, the tallest leader in the country. He was more than our parents too. He only brought us all as a. He has identified too many number of people. The fighters, since his boyhood onwards till the last day. All his achievements could never be paralleled by any. The future is bleak to the whole of Tamil Nadu and to us. We are in extreme grief. We do not know how we are going to take it up.
When was the last time, Mr. Siva, if I was to ask you, when was the last time you actually met him, when you had a conversation with him?
Oh, it was long back, 7 months before I saw him. He was that shaking and shaking. At that time, I was not able to speak, but he showed his affection. And a very good grief.
Did he ever mention what is it that was troubling him, or what is it? What was the lasting thought that he had? Okay, I can imagine that it must be a very, very emotionally turbulent time for Mr. Siva, and therefore difficult for people, and that's the point that we were trying to figure out with Lakshman. This emotional connect which people certainly have with political leaders, with political stalwarts, like what we're seeing in Tamil Nadu. Lakshman, you were going at, and I think that Mr. Siva is only re-emphasizing that point, magnifying that point even more, that it's difficult for people to even speak. Such is this immense sense of emotional, personal loss. Why? What explains this sense of deep emotional connect with leaders in Tamil Nadu?
Absolutely. If you notice his words, he said the future was bleak. Not only, he was not actually talking about the DMK at all, but he said for Tamil Nadu. And exactly in that, you can see the absolute depth of sorrow and a sense of grief, utter grief that has gripped the people. And like I said earlier, I do believe that it transcends party lines, because this was a movement. Yes, the movement certainly splintered at one point into the AIADMK when MGR took to the helm of that. And since then, of course, there has been the bitter rivalry. But even through that rivalry, as you saw in the presence of the Chief Minister and the Deputy Chief Minister today at the hospital, there has been a sense of these are the parties that represent Tamil ethnic sentiment, and certainly it had a far more radical form in the early decades, and that turned into a more accommodative, inclusive form in the 80s, 90s, and beyond. Okay. But nevertheless, it continues to be a very unique political representation.
May I just ask you to hold on for a moment again, Lakshman? May I just ask you to hold on for a moment again, because